Citizens of Kingstown, welcome to Too Many Shows, a TV podcast. I am your host, Benjamin David. We are both live on our YouTube channel, B. David Studios, and you can also find the pod wherever you listen to podcasts. So subscribe, follow there if you haven't. On that note, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of Too Many Shows. Also, any kind of super donation here on the stream or on any of our videos is much appreciated. And we're continuing the pods and the streams with our newest show, Mayor of Kingstown. Today we're back for Season 4, Episode 3, titled People Who Died. So I wonder what happened. I wonder what happens in this episode. Moving forward, we're still going to go live every Monday. We're going to start between 2 and 2:30 p.m. EST. And finally, if you want to hear our exclusive episode for Tulsa King, the Sam Jackson spin-off series of Tulsa King, we were just doing our Tulsa King review, so we have our spin-off episode there. Head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. We have our Alien Earth post-mortem exclusive on there. Of course, Predator Badlands just came out, so if you want to brush up on your A and your P, check that out. That didn't sound right. Also, I have an exclusive coming for the crime series Task, the HBO miniseries with Mark Ruffalo. As patrons, you guys also get early access to podcasts, detailed episode notes for each pod, and a ton of exclusive vids and pods you can only find there. That's all just at the $1 level, and again, that's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. All right, so let's do it. My review of Mayor of Kingstown, Season 4, Episode 3. As you can tell, I continue to be excited. I love this show. It's one of my favorite shows. You know, if you've been listening to the previous episodes, I can't stop just gushing about this show. So let's do it. IMDb credits, and then we have our non-spoiler initial thoughts, and then our spoiler walkthrough. Episode 3 is titled, once again, People Who Died. I'm like cheering as people who died. Good thing you guys can't see that in audio. Script is by Christian Donovan, who has done 20 episodes at Kingstown. So this is a Kingstown vet. Directed by Leslie Knope. First episode directing Kingstown. Also directed episodes of Snowpiercer, which last episode's director, I don't have it here, but definitely worked on that show as well. So I guess that's how Leslie got this connection, and man, knocked it out of the park. This episode is fantastic directing-wise. Created, of course, by Hugh Dillon, Eon himself, Detective Ian Ferguson, and then the great Taylor Sheridan. Music composition is by Andrew Lockington. And then cast, we're going to keep this shorter than before since most of our cast is now in place for the season. But top billing, of course, Jeremy Renner, our boy, as the Mayor of Kingstown, Mike McCluskey, Edie Falco as Warden Hobbs. So let's jump down to C.O. Breen. Ugh, today's returning character, scumbag, played by Matthew Del Negro, of course, from The Sopranos. Lauren Benatti, once again, is C.O. Cindy Stevens, who got even more in this episode, which I was happy about. And then another character worth crediting is Verlin Brown as Lawrence L.T. James. Now, this person Verlin Brown doesn't even have a picture on his IMDb. So I don't know if he's one of these like Wire type casting, because if you ever watched The Wire, they got real gangsters and stuff, and even on The Sopranos, like these were people who really worked for, you know, mob crime families that would be cast on the show. But anyway, dude doesn't even have an IMDb thing, does such a good job as this number 2 to Frank Moses, LJ. And then finally, shout out to our COs. We have Kevin Jackson as the Crip, played by, Kevin Jackson the Crip. So this is the guy that works for Bunny, played by Denny Love. I thought oh God, poor kid, but he does awful shit. So I don't know, how bad can we feel, right? And then, of course, gotta pour one out for Lane Garrison, the late great Carney. Maybe not great, but the late, certainly late Carney. Man, last episode's ending. Carney's no longer with us, guys. So some non-spoiler initial thoughts, and then we'll get to our spoiler walkthrough. I mean, dude, pun intended, don't care. Much like the train theme of this whole season. This episode just keeps this thing moving, man. The craziest part for me was my initial reaction, because meaning like right after I watched the episode, because it felt at first like it slowed down a bit. Meanwhile, it's like that ending. So again, non-spoilers, but the point is, this is the show we're dealing with, where what we see happen at the end of this episode, what we see happens to Bunny's crew, it still somehow felt like less happened. Unbelievable. Anyway, overall, top-notch Kingstown, top-notch television, all that, it just continues to slap, as the kids would say. Also, I am loving that we're getting more from the Robert and Evelyn storyline, and I may have talked about this on previous episodes, but I heard them say in interviews the characters that were satellite characters from previous seasons are now being in the forefront of this season. So the B and the C storylines have become the A stories in the season, and I am here for it. Oh, so much to talk about. So let's do it. So begins our beat by beat spoiler walkthrough for season 4, episode 3. So we open with an SOA, a Sons of Anarchy music video montage, essentially, of this Marvin Gaye song. Our young Colombian gunman, the Sicario kid, as they keep calling him. God, I hate to laugh, but it's, again, a dark laughter, as I'm sure you can tell. This kid is eating in a diner in Kingstown. Then it cuts to the scene of Carney's murder, and again, it's this montage that keeps intercutting. This season is doing a really good job with intercutting not only violence, which we're going to talk about later in detail, but anyway, so Mike, the private citizen, shows up CSI style, of course, because if there's a homicide in Kingstown, this private citizen, who is the mayor, has to show up. Our montage once again intercut with now Warden Hobbs, who's, I don't know if you call it a debrief, but she's giving her, Jesus Christ, we're in spoilers, giving her condolences for Carney's murder. And man, oof, we had suspicions last episode. Let's just say we have less this episode, guys. We'll get to it. Cut to Kyle in AdSeg, still healing very painfully, but he's kind of getting back to shape. Jesus. Cut to Crazy Robert drinking and laughing to himself over a coffee table of handguns and bullets, because Robert, that's what he needs. No work, no opportunity to kill people, liquor and a coffee table of handguns and bullets. That's a healthy setup for this guy. Back to the Colombian kid. Before he leaves the diner, he meticulously places the fork and knife into the center of his plate after putting the money down to pay. And you're just like, this calculated sociopath sick fuck. This is like the, what's it called, of the Coen brothers often have like a machine type character in their movies. Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. All right, our series intro. Anchor Bay Prison. Mike visits Kyle, telling him about Carney's death. It's like 2 in the chest, 1 in the head. So he says the Keno's work in the case. He's like, nothing to worry about. He's like, my soul fucking lifeline just got whacked, Mike. What do you mean nothing to worry about? Jeez. Mike assures Kyle there are other ways that he'll have Kyle's back. He's like, look, I know this is not good news, right? But I'm the mayor. I got pull. Meanwhile, we all know the pull that is lack of pull now because of Nina Hobbs. So Kyle starts now. I kind of forgot the first time watching this until the rewatch today, like for the podcast. Kyle starts like half breaking down about being in a position. Basically, he's just like, I can't touch anything. I can't do anything. I can't go anywhere. And Mike's like, bro, stay the course. Take a breath. Because who the fuck wouldn't? Oh, God, Kyle. What's the wager on the episode count when Kyle survives or doesn't survive? Haunting ass score kicks in, which there's much more of that this episode, of not just that our main series theme of that kind of choir, real haunting shit again, but there's other deep cellos and instruments that they use to, man, just, it's like a horror movie. Like, and I'm not exaggerating. If they supplanted this score into a horror movie, you'd be like, that's haunting shit. Gravel quarry / train tracks. A great shot of these pyramids of gravel. Again, this season we're getting amazing exteriors of Kingstown, our main character of the episode, this awful town in which they live. And now as the show is getting bigger and expanding, some people calling it even a reboot, as we talked about last episode. Again, not my term, but I can see why people say that. This shot kind of exemplifies that, is my point. Pyramids of gravel. Moses meets with Bunny. He's like, this is the one thing they see. Construction, gravel, infrastructure, something clean, something necessary. And Bunny's like, I like your poetry, as always, but what does this have to do with me? Anyway, so the scam, the what Lucas's business is. Lucas. I keep thinking Frank Lucas. That's Denzel Washington in American Gangster. Frank Moses. He goes, Canada unloads their trash on us. The state makes money and doesn't look twice. When something's marked for disposal, nobody tracks it, nobody scans it. It ain't hard to, this is such a great line. It ain't hard to disappear something that don't matter. The business is that he's moving trash on freights from Canada. So I thought at first interstate trafficking. This guy's obviously international trafficking of whatever. Actually, not of whatever. We see stamped, I'm assuming cocaine, in this cool trash-looking secret compartment thing that they make of fucking what looks like stacks of cardboard. Genius. What a great idea for a business. Trash. I mean, this is like Sopranos meets... It's just such good shit. But yeah, he's right. And it's not just trash. Like, obviously, for what the Sopranos do, it's waste management is easy to obviously hide the money and everything with money laundering because inventory is nearly impossible to track. Whereas with this, it's you're moving stuff, as we can see with the whole train thing. So Mike meets with CO Cindy at the river. Great shot of ice floating on it. There's a whole snow and ice theme, which for sure is a theme of death. I mean, literally the name of the episode, people who died. So this isn't me extrapolating. It's our theme here. It's our title. What the fuck, Mike? And she's like, oh, it's got nothing to do with me. Because she's like, bro, the guy we were supposed to meet at the bar last night was just whacked. Like, the fuck? Mike tells her not to worry about it anymore, meaning anything that they talked about, because she was supposed to be essentially the new Carney, right? That ain't happening anymore. And it's interesting that because I guess she's new and he likes her, whatever, that he's completely walking away. So he needs a new guy, right? And as we see later with CO Kevin the Crip. But it's interesting that he completely takes this off her and he's just like, yeah, you're not the person for this. And basically, and he literally says, like, I'm sorry for any upset. So the human side of Mike McCluskey, the fascinating, that is where the show is so good, is the depth of Mike and the different dimensions of him. He's very human, right? We do like him and love him in some cases, but he's also, the shit he does is atrocious. Anyway, so covering Kyle, because again, the main job was covering Kyle in prison. That's not just what Carney did in past seasons. Now the main mission of Carney was to protect Kyle. So, which I'm sure you guys knew, but it's worth going over. Anyway, these two are definitely going to do it. And that is going to complicate things in the best way for a show that, and we're going to talk later about literal cuts that they do between this character and shit that happens in the action. And you're just going, no. But at least, I mean, he did, and maybe this is why he let her go. Like, because he maybe sensed that this would, actually, no, I don't think, no, they had met. Yes, they met the night before, obviously. Okay. So maybe he was going, maybe it's a little of both. Maybe he knew that he was interested, and if it went somewhere, it's a little less complicated. Point is, now that she's not a part of Mike's gang, essentially, as Mike says, one of us, I think you guys see my point. Maybe that's part of why he did it. Great cityscape of Kingstown, train flowing through it. So now, not only, again, are we getting these elevated, in my opinion, cityscapes of Kingstown. We got good ones before, but I want to say the shots are even wider, and it seems they're with the snow theme, more shots of the day also. Point is, I think that they're obviously now focusing on the trains. So we're getting a lot of exteriors of trains, and they just look great in these fucking insane mega wide shots of 4K wide shots. Anyway, so we see some young Crips buying and selling drugs on the street. Colombians are surveilling, and you're like, of course, it starts with the kids. It makes sense. I mean, that's where you find where the dealers are at. Obviously, you find the kids on the street who are the first line of defense of police and everything else, and God, it's so fucked up. Back in AdSec, and that's a very cartel thing too, right? Just start with, not just start with the kids with surveillance. They would start with kids because that's the most brutal place to start. Back in AdSeg, Kyle decides to start partaking in whatever drugs Callahan sent over on that comb on a string thing, and this is how they do it. They start with the cigs, right? Then they get you on the drugs, and before you know it, you are a Nazi in prison. Jesus Christ. So, back at the quarry, Bunny says he's not interested. Or Bunny says he's not uninterested, because again, he had just seen essentially the procedure, what Frank does, what Frank's business is, although we know that Frank's hiding a ton of shit. I mean, there's definitely some symbolism there too. It's like, oh, let me show you my business by showing you hidden things where we know he's hiding way more. God knows. I mean, we can all just predict he's going to try to take over. That's the idea, I'm guessing. He's like, look, I'm not uninterested, but I don't want to get comfortable. And that is such a smart philosophy in life in general, let alone as a gangster, a Crip from Kingstown. Like, he's like, I don't want to get comfortable, man. So he needs to meet with everyone on Frank's network, which was a stipulation that we talked about last episode when they talked for the first time. And he's like, look, if I'm ever going to participate, I got to meet everybody. And, you know, again, I don't trust this. There's so much that he is not telling Bunny. He's so much higher level than Bunny. Talk about 4D chess. And thank God he has Mike, because Mike, you know, has... They're going to be... I think Mike and Bunny are going to be a great team ultimately against this dude, which is going to be fascinating to watch. So Bunny gets a call, annoyed that he's interrupted. He's like, the fuck, man? I'm trying to impress this guy and do real business and step it up. Like, what are these street phone calls? And his boy's like, yo, corner boys took off. So as far as he knows, these kids robbed him and just took off. He's like, send out the scouts, bring them youngins front and center. I'll deal with this shit personally. So the plan, he's like, look, I will sit them all down and we're going to have a children's sermon, as we would say in the Presbyterian Church. So, yeah. Anchor Bay. Ian and Stevie are investigating Carney's murder in the CO locker room. Torres is being way too glib for comfort. I mean, to the point of trolling. You're just like, as predicted, and we don't know yet, because this isn't we're in spoilers, but point is, like, at this point in the episode, we still don't know for sure his involvement, but just this attitude right here. You're like, oh, he had to, this fucking guy. And it also feels like a power move as well. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in your face about this. I took this guy out. What are you going to do about it? Because you're in Mike's gang. You know, we know that he knows that they're in Mike's gang. Torres is like, oh, it must have been awful. His old man witnessing. And Ian catches him. I love when detectives do this in shows. He goes, I said he was in the house. Didn't say he witnessed shit. And Ian is just, they're aggressive. They're not passive aggressive. And Stevie and Ian both give it right back to him. He's like, what, did you drop out of cop school for corrections? Because he starts saying like cop shit about like investigation techniques and whatever. And he's like, what, did you drop out of cop school for corrections? Overlap in training. He's like, oh, overlap. I didn't realize. And Stevie, I love Stevie so much. I wish we got more of Stevie. And again, I guess based on those interviews, that's another example of a character we'll get more of. And I guess now that we think about it, yeah, we did get more Stevie in this episode than probably more episodes so far of the whole show. He's like, just want to make sure I'm at the disposal of Kingstown's finest. God, this Torres guy is such a troll. And then he goes to open the locker like with his hand. Don't do that, deputy. Stevie again is giving it right back to him. Like, don't touch the crime scene. And this is where Ian, I'm like, okay, somebody's getting whacked here. Because when Ian goes, you could fuck off now. It is on. It is on between Mike's gang and her gang. But as we see who her gang is, she's literally got fucking Colombians, so that's not going to be good. Carney's locker apparently stinks, which is a fun character detail. Again, this show, as always, like, it's just the detail. You get my point. So they search the locker, find drugs in his boots, and then pocket the evidence as a, why would you not? If you're in Mike's gang, of course you pocket the incriminating evidence. So Moses and Bunny, and that's the thing, like, we think in our head Torres is the bad guy. Obviously, he's not a good guy. No one's a good guy. But these are also dirty cops who are about to pocket evidence. And we're like, oh, good. Good job pocketing the evidence. That's how fucked up Kingstown is. So we're cheering for these guys. So Kingstown Projects There's this blue delivery bag outside of these project doors. These teenagers come out, and again, really good dialogue. Like, you can hear between them, they're having this back and forth of like, we gotta go, we're late for this, we're late for that. He's like, open the bag, open the bag. He's like, nah, man, we're late. So there was a world in which they just ran away from that bag. But he's like, no, man, just open it, let's see what it is. And the kid literally throws up, and it is full of body parts. We see arms, we see legs. We've got it all in a fucking delivery bag for children to open. Of children, by the way. These are kids that they chopped up. Specifically, these are in The Wire what they call hoppers, the street dealers who are kids, right? As we said before, perfect for when they get locked up, perfect for whatever, because they only get juvie, start them young, all that sick shit that gangsters do. So Moses and Bunny are on the road, and then so we get this kind of mini road movie within this episode. I love this, the Moses Bunny road trip. Moses continues, explaining how the business works. Mike calls. Back to the Mike driving show. This time we see Frank looks annoyed. So that feeling that we talked about before of Bunny, like, look, I got real business going on here. Like, what's up? I don't need to be interrupted while I'm talking to Frank Moses. Now Frank looks annoyed. And then he's like, oh, sorry. And then this is when Mike tells Bunny about Carney getting clipped. And he's like, oh, shit. Like, Krakow was all right with his writing. Krakow was all right with me when I was in. So if you remember when Bunny was in jail, yeah, he was watching out for Bunny. Oh, my God. So he's like, look, I got a guard inside, Mike. It's like, what? Really? Thanks for telling me now. And he is pissed that Bunny didn't tell him about Kevin, which makes sense. I mean, Mike wants to have as much control in the prison as possible. And this is yet another example, I just thought of this, of Mike being even more out of control than ever in this season, where even Bunny's holding shit back from him. I mean, not to say that Bunny never held things back from Mike, but I think you guys see my point. Holding back that he has a guard inside. I guess now that we think about it, yeah, so we didn't know how... I was just thinking about the prison attack with the snipers and the grenades. Mike still doesn't know the inner workings of that operation. Holy shit. That stuff, and Hobbs does, right? Kareem knew, but wow, Mike still doesn't know that information. Again, Mike being in the dark. It's our theme. It's our theme, guys. Then Mike insists on meeting Kevin. He's like, all right, you didn't tell me about this kid. I need to meet him right now. Gets off the phone. Frank's like, prison business, huh? Company town, Frank. Prison's always been the fulcrum. He's like, not anymore, D. You are rebranding and expanding. And you just can't trust this, right? In a show this tragic, we are not supposed to feel good about this road trip they're taking. Oh, he's showing them the big business. Oh, he's doing this. I mean, he's about to just try to really swallow Bunny. And I can't wait to see Bunny get scrappy. So Don's Diner. Meanwhile, again, the power levels in this season. This guy runs the Crips in Kingstown, and he's like small potatoes compared to this guy. I love the scales, again, of power in this season. Don's Diner. Mike meets with Stevie and Ian. Ian shows him the burner that Carney had in his locker, which I didn't remember from the search, but anyway, we now know that he had a burner, I guess in one of his boots. Yeah, he's like, we found this in his boot, and then we found hash in his other boot. Didn't look like hash, it looked like white bags, but I also don't think hash would have been nearly as incriminating. I highly doubt that was hash, but maybe they just said hash. Confusing, but doesn't probably really matter. Mike's like, look, you're the fucking detectives. What's behind door number 2? I don't know what to tell you. Because they're like, yeah, we don't know where it's going. And he's like, all right, we'll keep looking. Why are you asking me? Which is great dialogue once again. You're the fucking detectives. What's behind door number 2? And now this is where they tell him about Torres fishing for info. So Mike's like, oh, really? Okay, well, I mean, Torres could have planted it. Because there's no way Carney would have been that sloppy. Mike's point is that there's no way Carney would have been that sloppy when he knows the procedure of being in Mike's gang. You play it as, clean as possible, involve as much truth and lie type strategy, right? So Ian's like, was this warden dirty? What's going on here? Because now they're obviously suspicious about, well, if he's planting drugs, what else could have happened maybe? So he's like, look, buy some time. And the plan is whoever did this thinks KPD will just put a bow on it and wrap it up. So he's like, don't. So essentially, don't try to solve the case. Don't keep everybody in the dark until they figure out, until Mike's gang figures out. As always, Mike is just stalling major murder investigations because this is what he does. Kingstown Courthouse, the scene we've all been waiting for. Robert just happens to show up, guys. It's coincidental. In the courthouse lobby, Evelyn is on the phone, and she immediately gets off the phone. Evelyn's got balls, man. She just walks right up to him. She's like, the fuck, Robert? Like, what are you, following me? Pretty convenient. He's like, I have business here. Taking my case to arbitration. He goes, yeah? Finger trigger itching? Oh, you have no fucking idea what trouble is. He's like, and she goes, what is that, a threat? No, he's like, it's just a, I forget what he says, but he's like, you live up there in your glass house and you throw your stones. And man, the way he looks at her is chilling. We get it from Bunny. We get it from, we talked many times about the reptile as a Mike in the AB house when he blows all those dudes and a woman away. In the whole Ira situation. This episode, we saw it, we're going to see it in Bunny's eyes. We saw it in Robert's eyes, and then Edie's eyes. Holy crap. Between her and Mike at the end of this episode. And his reptile eyes come back too in that scene between the two of them. But anyway, Robert here, man. Like, and he just doesn't care anymore. Like, directly confronting the DA like this. You are in the deepest of shit. Just, kid you not, for a minute. Anyway, she's like, so, you know, well, her point is that Kyle's now in prison so that you can be under your roof with your family. And then he has this look. She goes, how's that working out for you, Robert? And I guess she got the sense that, you know, she up and left the family. And man, she's got balls once again. Like, Robert is a psychopath. She's going right at him. And then ends the scene with seek help. Back to the Mike driving show. Ian calls. We found some of his guys, or parts of his guys. Again, the writing, the dark humor in this show. Not that that was played as dark humor, but you get my point. It plays into the whole, how the show delivers the dialogue is nuts. Mike speeds up. It's the Mike driving show. Canadian gas station. I'm assuming, yes, because he definitely says it later on. And we see this Canadian flag along the Bunny Moses road trip. So that character of LJ, once again, that's number 2 to Frank Moses, asks Bunny if he's up. Sorry, let me start that over. LJ asks Bunny if he's up to doing business with Frank. Like, is this kid up to the task, essentially? He's like, we'll see. We still in the honeymoon. Which is, this is how smart, you know, this guy is. Even little moments like this, you can see him calculating that, like in any relationship, especially as high stakes as this is. You are always going like, well, let's not get comfortable. There's definitely a honeymoon phase of any relationship. Kone, the weapons broker from Budapest. So while LJ and Frank were talking, the point of this scene was so that Bunny could meet this guy, Kone, the weapons broker from Budapest. Again, the specificity. Kone, the weapons broker from, and he's like, damn, Budapest. He's like, Budapest, Paris, and he starts going through the list of all the cities, like, no fucking limits for you. Again, this foreshadowing. Ugh. I don't like where we're taking Bunny. But it's still really good writing. And also, you know, for a show that's in its 4th season, Bunny has talked about in the past expanding. I'm moving beyond this town. This has been a theme throughout the show, and again, we can't harp enough on these train metaphors. Now that train that he's been talking about continues in an even more substantial direction this season. So Mike pulls up on the crime scene of dismembered teenagers, which is not a sentence I liked muttering. Apparently cut them off at the joints, didn't leave the heads or torsos. And this is where they were doing the dark comedy. Stevie's like, goddamn treasure hunt. Bodies all over the damn town. Come on, dude. Body parts all over the town. Not bodies, body parts. And then this line from Steve, or this line from Ian, that mute "see you next Tuesday" just goes to the diner. He's like, that. That's all he does. He's like, look, he's a house cat. There's nothing we can do. He's like, house cat or not, keep an eye on the Sicario. They keep calling him, by the way, the Sicario kid. It's just hilarious. Back on the Bunny Moses road trip, Bunny says he's, Bunny is like, damn, man, I almost never leave the hood, let alone the state, let alone. And he's like, never the country. And he's like, again, this whole thing about, we just talked about it. The Frank Moses expanding, I don't trust it. Mike calls. So the crew at the crew of Chopped Up Kids was the crew at Grape Apartments. He's like, all dead. Cartel used them as a calling card. Ugh. Time to bring the hammer down. Like now. And Renner's face, he's opening the door. It's such good like cop movie action when he says, time to bring the hammer down. Like now. Mike orders another hit. We saw it last episode. This is what it looks like when Mike orders a hit. But we're going to talk later. I mean, look, we'll just hit it now. Mike's position is the peacekeeper, right? The power broker. This is interesting because how often do we see Mike go like, we need retaliation yesterday? It's not a common thing, right? Like, this is really interesting to see Mike go all in on knowing, again, the 4D chess that he has to play of power in the town, knowing when to hit back. And I guess look, this is, as Ian said, it's like fucking Juarez here. I mean, this is literally cartel. And I guess that's why Mike's like, you want to talk about escalation? Let's meet them at their game at least, because we can't, this is a unique situation, to say the least. My God. He's like, yeah, well, look, tell Moses we're going to have to come to Jesus. This writing. Sorry, before we get to this, Mike again orders the hit, tells him to bring the hammer down. Bunny, interestingly, is like, well, I'm in partner mode right now, right? I'm working with this Moses guy. Point is, I can't really make these decisions this big on my own. Like, I got to figure out retaliation with my partner. He goes, yeah, well, look, and God, Renner, it's just, yeah, well, look, tell Moses we're going to have a come to Jesus. Show him how it works here. Tell Moses we're going to have a come to Jesus. I mean, that, unbelievable. So Bunny's face, and this is what I was talking about before, Bunny's face turns so primal. For sure, this guy studied, like, when people study animals as actors, the bear, he's the ultimate. And yeah, we saw the Feed the Bear, that whole thing of the first season and a half. God, I want to get back up to that cabin, guys. But I guess ever since we're shooting in Pittsburgh, we can't go back to the cabin. Back on the Mike driving show, Mike pulls up on some street dealers, and this is a day in the life of Mike. You know, he's just driving through town, and he sees AB. I'm pretty sure these are AB skinhead guys, because they were shaved head, and they were assholes, and they were white. Shoots through the guy's windshield, and immediately he's like, is this your fucking corner? I'm gonna cut your fucking head off. And he had done this in previous seasons. We saw he literally pulled up between AB and some Crips. This is what Mike does once again. Beats the shit out of this guy. And man, I mean, he is as, the other fascinating thing, I don't know if we talked about costuming yet on the show, but completely well-dressed, always rocking that suit. Like the whole Mayor of Kingstown outfit is a nice suit, and then the Lincoln, right? Mitch was very well-dressed, full three-piece or two-piece suit, whatever, and had the nice Cadillac. I just love kind of the style of these guys that, as well-dressed as they are, end of the day, Mike McCluskey rolling up on you on the wrong corner is not going to go well for you. Rebecca calls, and he's still like, don't get this asshole cleaned up. Like, he's still yelling at these guys while on the phone with Rebecca. And then Rebecca reports that Evelyn got into it with Robert. And he's like, oh, can anyone call with good news? The dialogue, again. What's the dialogue count? How many times Ben compliments the dialogue? She's like, don't shoot the messenger. Again, I love how they're giving more to Evelyn, or no, not Evelyn, I'm sorry, more to Rebecca than ever this season. He's like, this sucks. Yet another drinking game. Mike on the phone and his commentary after he hangs up. This sucks. And just his little thank you. Just the things he does when he's losing it on the phone. Love Mike on the phone. Love Mike driving. Love Mike on the phone. And the scenes with Mike and driving on the phone is a double bonus. People saw the drama at the courthouse. This is something that Rebecca tells him, which we, in TV, that's actually worth saying, because we can assume sometimes that, like, no one's apparently hearing these conversations, right? But in real life, people would be hearing, and people have ears. It kind of got loud and heated. So they're confirming, which I thought was good writing, that people saw that. Mike calls Ian, asking if he knew that Robert was stalking Evelyn. He's like, bro, did you know? The kind of stutter that Mike McCluskey has. I know I'm making it sound more Shatner than it really is, but it's Renner, as always. So good. This is another thing when people get off the phone, they always have to say fuck, like fuck. I mean, Ian's always dropping F-bombs, but that's another thing you can add to the drinking game, is when Mike drops F-bombs when he hangs up the phone. Robert's house, Sawyer residence, as they're walking up, he's like, Ian, he crossed the line. What the fuck? And then as Robert, again, dialogue is so good. As he's coming out, he hears them say this. So instead of Mike, traditionally on any other show, he'd be like, you were out of line, Robert. You crossed the line. And he didn't even get in the house. It's not even like, come in and blah, blah, blah. Like, they never even get inside the house. Robert just basically interrupts them during, it just felt so real is the point. He's like, I crossed the line? Is that what you said? I crossed the line? Surprising, Robert's being aggressive. And Mike, you need to stand down. Mike, the balls on Mike as always. Maybe that was why they intercut the scenes this way, is that Mike is literally on the phone after beating up a bunch of AB drug dealers on the street by himself. Always rolling completely alone. Never rolls even too deep, I should say. Crazy. And maybe that's why they intercut it with this scene with Robert, because Robert's obviously like the apex predator of this whole show. And we know talk about the foreshadowing of explosions at the end of this episode. We know Robert is going to burn hellfire upon Kingstown. It is going to be cray-cray. Yeah. And I said cray-cray. So Robert claimed, he's like, dude, I had business at the courthouse. He's like, oh my God, dude, you can't follow the DA. Like, didn't think we had to go over this at the meeting, at Don's Diner one day. He's like, your brother's in prison because you can't control that stupid, and our second see you next Tuesday. Wow. Like, your brother's in prison because you can't control that stupid beep. Man, Robert don't hold back. And he knew, again, Mike's involvement with Evelyn, because he didn't flat out admit to it, but we saw last season where they figured it out. He's like, yeah, say hi to Carney's dad, since I can't be at the funeral. Dude, Robert. Ugh. It is not going to go well for Robert, but he is not going to go down not swinging. Back in AdSeg. Of all the prison movies I have seen, guys, I have never seen this. A private jail cell shower. The whole cell. So you got the bars, the guard standing in front of it. And this whole cell structure is devoted to a shower. And anyone in the hallway is just seeing you shower. Speaking of, CO Cindy checks out Kyle's naked, bruised body as she walks by. Which there was a whole deliberate, like, her seeing it, looking in, the reaction. Maybe that's just for her to kind of take in the vulnerability. Obviously with symbolism of nudity and vulnerability and shit like that. Seeing the injury, seeing the wounded, and seeing this guy completely stripped of his physically and career-wise, being a cop to being the whole of a prison, right? That's a big transformation of a character. So there's a lot, I'm sure, in that reaction and this whole little thing, like, meaning that was very deliberate of why we saw that. Moses Train Tower. Mike meets with Bunny and Moses in this office that he has, and I love this. We talked about it, I think, last episode, but this switchboard of train tracks, this old school analog, like, it's just such a great setting for a front. He's like, yeah, this is the cartel we're dealing with. It's going to test your restraint. And he's like, you can't hold back. And it's so crazy seeing Mike tell him, like, don't hold back. It's normally the total opposite. And he's like, oh, I'm taking blood, flesh, and bone. Bunny is so good. Toby Bamtifa crushes. The British Toby Bamtifa. Toby Bamtifa. Frank insists on taking the burden of payback upon himself. He's like, I will take this burden. He's like, oh, no, 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 no. These boys were mine. He says, look, there ain't no yours and mine. We are a partnership now. And then he goes, Mike, you can interpret this as, you can interpret this, as all as you want, as if I'm legitimate. Meaning, like, you can think I'm as legitimate as you want, but at the end of the day, you saw what I did with the Russians, right? He literally says, ain't that right, LJ? He's like, damn right. You see any Russians hanging around lately? I mean, that's literally how we open the season. The season opening of the show was 4 decapitated Russians on train tracks. Let me show you a different kind of value. Let me show you a different kind of value. That is, again, such good writing among just gangster writing. Excuse me. Mike's reaction shot, by the way, great as always. Like, before we leave our scenes, I think we talked last episode how every scene ended so well, and just this small reaction shot of Mike's suspicion, that's for sure what that was. Renner crushing, I mean, it's like, what's the point of even saying that? Obviously, Renner is so good. Excuse me, sorry guys, I'm getting over some congestion here. Anchor Bay smoking section. There's this little smoking yard that I guess is for the COs. The return of CO Breen, this motherfucker. We heard his name last episode, very quick. This is something that Renner also talked about in interviews of going, if you look away even for a second. As we saw with the calls to Switzerland, which don't get paid off yet, at least, the close-up of Edie's phone, of Nina Hobbs' phone last episode, stuff like that. That is a literal example. As a guy who reviews the show, I must have looked away for half a second the first time I saw that episode, didn't see it. This is another example where it's like, we heard his name last episode in ad seg, so we know that CO Breen is an ad seg, but we don't see CO Breen, and then we do in the montage, in that Marvin Gaye montage in the beginning of this episode, and now we finally get a scene with him. The way in which they sprinkle in characters, the running time, the choice of running time for characters too, like on-screen time, is very unique, I think, and we're going to talk about it in a second with Nina Hobbs too. They're just so good at serializing these stories. There was something else this morning. This is Breen talking to CO Cindy, telling us to be authentic with ourselves. And again, Matthew Del Negro from Sopranos, he was cousin Brian Camerado. Just such a good actor, this guy, and such a different character. Like, he's this scumbag CO creep, right? All that horrible female stuff that we dealt with last season, and now Predator, literally. And in Sopranos, he was like he gets sucked into the family, right? And that was the point of that character. But he was a financial advisor, well-dressed, like completely different guy. I love it. Anyway, so, sorry. He's like, they want to be authentic with ourselves. What does that even mean? And then he talks about, it was such a good detail for the millionth time dialogue storytelling. He tells a story because she asks, CO Cindy's like, have you ever seen anything like that, like at work? He goes, so one time this guy, he talked about, he said got caught in the tide, which I guess is just you get caught under a sea of criminals in the yard. He goes, yeah, I saw somebody get like sucked into the tide, whatever the word was, in the yard. And he goes, left him looking boneless. And he takes a beat and he's like a puppet. Ugh, man, just imagining that. Whew. Music kicks in, and this is when we're like, oh, that's right, CO Breen, psychopath. Talk about sprinkling in. This is the manipulation, a great way to introduce a manipulative character, to present manipulation in a serialized way, right? He's like, you know, these creeps in here, don't worry about him. Crooked cop, fucking cherry on top of all these scumbags. And you could see her going like, wait, I thought, maybe she even has a line too. I thought he was a good guy. Like, just saying, they make it hard on us. Don't take any crap off them. Ugh. Again, classic manipulation. This guy, and I guess now we're going to see. I mean, she's clearly a female. Maybe we're going to see, as we keep talking about characters that were previously satellite characters in others in previous seasons. Now they're going to get into A stories. Now we're going to see, I think, Breen from like step one of manipulating a woman to the final step of the attack, I guess you could say. Maybe we're going to actually see all that play out because, you know, this is victim 3 as far as we know, which we know. I mean, I'm sure has way more under his whatever on his list, but we saw it with Tracy and then the character of Cherry. So, oh my God. And then who knows? I mean, Tracy might come back into it. The fact that he has Kyle and Adseg, like the predictions there. Good Lord. Like the things that he's going to allow to happen to Kyle. Just us knowing that he knows that Kyle, oh my God. Anyway, great voyeur shot from inside the door. Again, this Leslie Hope, I believe, is the name of the director. These voyeuristic shots, we talked about it in previous episodes, and we're going to see it with Mike's meeting with Nina later, is through the blinds, through the windows of whatever room they're in this case, this courtyard, you're getting a shot from the other side of a door through it, which gives you, it's unnerving in its effect. And man, this guy is an evil fuck. Mike meets up with CO Kevin the Crip in a parking lot. And this kid just looks like a baby. Very deliberate. This is where I had to give the actor props before in my IMDb credits because he is doing just such a good job at looking, as Mike says, look, you look so fucking sad. Jesus Christ, you look so fucking sad. Do I have the wrong guy here? But man, as we said before, recruit him young. I mean, Bunny, we're on Bunny's side. And meanwhile, the kids that got chopped up, it's completely on him. This is someone who recruits kids, who he was probably going to, as we said before, if the kids were alive, he probably would have God knows what, the children's sermon, as we'll call it, would have looked like with those kids. I mean, they're kids. Anyway, so Mike runs down how his job works as the dirty CO. So if you're the dirty CO of Mike's gang in Mayor of Kingstown, he's like, look, you got to take all my phone calls. You got to do this. You got to do that. And my brother is priority. That is job number one, mission number one. Again, this is where the show has gotten bigger and more specific and really is going in a more specific direction than ever, where the dirty guard and everyone has kind of a mission that they never had before. In this case, again, Mike's brother. He's like, Jesus Christ, you look so sad. Because he's not saying much. He's just sitting there. And he's like, what is the problem? He's like, is this what got Carney killed? And Mike takes the beat, Renner. Well, just every time he has a good performance, that's our shorthand for it. Renner. My God. And we all just know that Mike has signed this kid's death warrant. He's like, look, just don't worry about it. Pick up the phone. He does not feel good about... But he is desperate. Mike is beyond desperate at this point. Especially because he also just let go of CO Cindy. He definitely could have kept that. If Mike, that's again, where the fascinating television, right? Fascinating character work, the depth, the dimension of this character. If he was a sociopath, he wouldn't have thought twice about keeping CO Cindy. She's the best person that Mike has. She's already an ADSEG. Now, Mike's got to pull a bunch of strings to move this kid around. But he actually has a conscience. And that is very interesting. So back in ADSEG, Kyle checks in with his AB prison mate. Like, if we talked before about Callahan. He's reading, and again, classic manipulation, great mirroring, great thematic mirroring in this whole episode, right? You have the manipulation, we don't trust Frank for a minute. We have the manipulation, the seed now planted with CO Breen and CO Cindy. Now we have what's been going on since we saw Callahan get locked up, I believe, by the end of episode 1, yeah. We saw that that's who you get shacked up with in ADSEG, yay, is the head of AB. Now, Kyle, as we know, he's like, did I miss Chow? I was in the shower. And Kyle, as we said before, when I say checks in with his prison mate, it is Kyle who's like proactively socializing. And back to the manipulation thing, this is what master manipulators do. It's kind of like a cat thing. You know, you don't treat someone you're manipulating like a dog, you treat them like a cat. You make a move and then you pull back and see where they go. In this case, he knows that Kyle's going to be desperate for any kind of socialization. I mean, that's the biggest thing of no one wants to be an ad seg, even if it means their life, because they need socialization. Human beings just need, like, when they see someone walk by the cell, they're like, I just need a human around. He's cashing in on that primal feeling is my point. And man, Kyle is just so fucked. Like, he's going to be AB in like 2 episodes. And comment below. What episode number is your prediction for Kyle turning AB? Head down, eyes wide, ass clenched. This AB guy, or sorry, a Callahan, man. Great writing, but that's what they're talking about. And this is so fascinating. Philosophically, crime-wise, you progress to survive. Remake yourself. Sometimes that requires suffering. Got to be both marble and sculptor. Got to be both marble and sculptor. Heavy blows from chisel and hammer. And essentially he's saying you got to get through Hades to get to heaven. The sick part is that heaven, we know, is you're going to be AB. So comment below. It's just so sick, bro. Like, he's trying to sell it obviously as like, you'll come out of this a stronger man. He's not even considering for a moment Kyle going like, I'm sure Kyle is considering it, but you get my point. Like, what is going to come out on the other end? Prison Kyle is just going to be an ugly, ugly character in the best way. I said this before. I mean, talk about storytelling, corrupting a character, right? I mean, character development in a happy movie, right? In a comedy and something uplifting, the arc is obviously the other way. They start off in a shitty place and they get better. Kyle's only going in the opposite direction. This is a tragic crime epic. It seems like it's turning into that. Having that time to serialize where we've seen the trajectory of Kyle is going to be fucking so rich and fascinating, character-wise. So outside Anchor Bay Warden's prison, outside Anchor Bay, outside one more time, Anchor Bay Warden's office, my bad, because we're still indoors, but it's, point is, Mike is not thrilled by how by the book his access is to Anchor Bay. So when he tries to go see the warden, normally he would just get the pass-through security. Now he's outside her office, he's at security, and they are giving him, they're treating him like everyone else, again, by the book, and he is not happy about that. And his sarcasm, again, Mike trying to keep it together. The theme, I think, of either last episode or I think it was the premiere, I kept saying that. Another example of that, he even says it with that smile, that Renner charm. Renner, Renner, Renner. Why don't you pick up the phone and tell Deputy Warden Torres that Mike fucking McCluskey is so funny. He's just, and he throws in the smile, and then the smile just goes to, I love seeing people do that when they smile and then immediately the smile drops. Like, they just immediately drop the facade. Love it. So finally he's in Nina's office. Thank you. Mike is such a sarcastic fuck. He says that to Torres. See you? Just, yeah, by the book, Mike. Like I told you, official channels. And her playing dumb, we've said this in many of the episodes, but we have to keep going with it, is that this playing, because it really factors into what we see later on in the episode, that whole playing dumb thing that she does is so chilling. I mean, she is such a formidable, God. She goes, look, your brother is safe and secure. So what do you need? Like, can I help? What can I help you with? Oh. And he goes, CO, CO Carney, that's why I'm here. She goes, yeah, his passing, that is unfortunate. My condolences. He goes, passing? Seems polite. She goes, all right, well, look, unless you've been deputized, what are you doing here? Kind of, again, let's cut the shit. And this is some of the best tension you're going to see on television. These two going back and forth. I kept saying before, and it continues, the pauses between Mike and Edie in these fucking scenes are so good. You could do an entire courtroom drama of just these two. Like, you could do like a short film / play, throw it on stage, Renner and Falco. Like, my God, they're so good. Anyway, she's like, can you find a point here, please? This is a warning then. No, she's like, oh, okay. Well, anyway, so she goes, can you get to a point here? And he goes, yeah, like, you think your prison's secure. What happens on the outside affects the inside. Oh, so this is a warning then. He goes, no, I'm trying to douse the fires before they get wild. Foreshadowing, anyone? Foreshadowing, anyone? He's like, look, man, I just want to be an asset. And she goes, oh, an asset in exchange for access to your brother. He goes, yeah, win-win. Like, can we do that? And she's suspicious about him. She even says, too, she's like, Mike, somehow, right back to her interests, you are still somehow accessing your brother in ways I don't understand. I don't know how you're getting into that, but, and like, sorry. He's like, look, we don't have to be adversaries here. I don't know what the issue here is. And then she's like, I'm not trying to be your adversary. We just both need to understand how this works. Do we understand each other? Do we? And again, the way the camera looks at, goes in on both of them. They were doing this in previous episodes where the two shots and the one shots, or sorry, the close-ups of the one shot start to go in as the drama progresses, and it's so good. And again, this passive aggression is performance fucking masterclass. Her eye contact, we were talking about the reptile eyes. I mean, by the way, she is in like 5 minutes of this episode. We said before with C.O. Breen, the way you plant certain characters that still have major weight on the story. Clearly, she's the A storyline character, but I mean, screen time, what has she had? 15 minutes this whole season? Oh, man, it is just such good sprinkling of character work. And always steals the show is my point. Like, she's on the screen for 5 minutes, and you can't stop thinking about her and, like, almost no one else at the end of this episode. Even with this episode's ending, I'm going to talk about later, that's how much she steals the show. And his eye contact starting to match hers, oof, in these pauses, man, they're good. So Marty's bar, Robert is yelling at Marty from across the bar, and he is wasted. Ian shows up. Marty called Ian to come deal with Robert. So essentially the bartender calls Ian and he's like, get this guy the fuck out of here. Like, he is out of control. So Ian starts talking shit and slurring. He's like, I got no clock. I got nowhere to go. He's like, no clock for that bitch. Took that fucking clock from me. And he's talking about how Evelyn essentially took away his purpose. Starts talking shit about the McCluskeys as well, which is not good. You know, they say that drunk words express sober thoughts. Not maybe for everybody. In this case, that is not a generalization when it comes to Robert Sawyer, man. He is not kidding. By the way, he's probably more pissed at Evelyn. I was thinking about this. He's probably more pissed at Evelyn for that than anything else. That I think that Robert misses killing people more than his family. Like, I think he misses killing people more than his own family living in the house. Then he calls Marty, he's like, you short, poor piece of shit. Like, what? Hey, God, Robert is not a good person. Look, you don't burn this fucking place to the ground. Another fire foreshadow. Robert reveals his wife. Sorry, I actually skipped. He didn't yet say this, but he's like, where's your wife? Ian's like, where's his wife? And then Robert just kind of shakes his head. Later on is when he finally tells him that she left. Not super important, but again, just good writing. Like, in any other show, he probably would have just started off with that. In this show, Robert Sawyer just like shakes his head and Ian's like, okay. Anyway, Ian offers to drive him home and his wife's CRV's like, I got this fucking beauty, because he claims that his truck, somebody backed into it, which I'm sure he was drunk driving and is not admitting to that. And then he pukes before getting in. He's like, don't walk in it. Dialogue, as always. Ian's like, don't walk in the... Oh, God. He's like, fuck off. Don't tell me what to do. So, Sawyer residence. Robert goes straight for the booze. Ian helps him inside, and this dude stumbles straight for the bar, literally lunges over the bar, asks about Patty. He's like, what happened to the wife? What is going on here? He's like, she left with the kids, staying with her mom. Ian cleans up the handgun coffee table, which is that's a good friend. That's what a good friend does for you in Kingstown. Is because again we saw Robert laughing, alone drinking over the coffee table by himself, covered in handguns and bullets. So Ian's a good friend and clean that up. Robert is wondering out loud. I'm assuming about Evelyn's call on the case. He's like, why hasn't she figured it out? I'm assuming that's what he's. But in I love Kingstown fashion, they don't tell us what's going on until they need to. So Ian puts on a beanie and walks home. I thought it was, I'm like, why are they extending this shot? But I think it's, I don't know, maybe how good of a friend he is, even to someone this awful, is that he's now going to walk home in the cold-ass Kingstown. Moses Train Tower, another great exterior of a long-ass freight train, like snaking through Kingstown. He's like, those youngins you lost today, this is Frank Moses. He's like, you're feeling that. Rest in peace. So essentially he tells, this is such good writing. He tells Bunny, he's like, you lift yourself up. He's like, you lift yourself up, you lift up your people too. You feel no pain, D, looking down on high. They are standing on a train platform looking over this business that, again, we know that he's manipulating Bunny, but still, this guy is risen to the top of crime is the point. It's a big moment for both them, especially for Bunny, right, to be in this new position. And him talking about, you know, we got the guidance before from Callahan, now we're getting this manipulative guidance from Frank, saying that if you lift yourself up, like your people, essentially fake it till you make it, but you have to put that face on of like, just be badass, we're going to drop this hammer down and we are in charge. You are no longer, even though you are definitely responsible, oh God, for the death of a bunch of teenagers, you can't feel that pain because you are now in a new position, essentially. And he's like, you trust me yet? So Frank asks Bunny if he trusts him. Such good writing. I trust you 60%. Frank laughs. Sounds about right. And then he's like, trust takes time. It's like minutes and miles. It's offerings and sacrifices. Like what you got with McCluskey. You know, probably starting to maybe put that wedge in between Mike and we were talking about the jealousy last episode, and clearly this guy is a master manipulator, and that's probably the theme of this episode, master manipulation. Anchor Bay parking lot. Torres walks Hobbs to her car. Torres reminds her that she has a meeting. Torres reminds her that she has a meeting with Joyceville Penn, and a pretty interesting response. She's like, that place is going to be a cakewalk compared to this. So these two really are fixers, like hardcore interim cleanup crew for prisons, because she just got to Anchor Bay and we're already having meetings with new prisons. I don't know what shady business, I mean, actually we're about to find out, but like you get my point. I mean, she's already moving on to a new place. I guess that's just make no friends, do business, and get out of these towns with exceptional prison problems. Maybe that's some secret. She could be CIA. Who the fuck knows who this woman is? Like one of these people who don't exist in real life or whatever. Anyway. She's like, is there something else, Torres? And Torres, no, I think it's contained now. Yeah, well, I know it is, David. What? Again, holy shit. I mean, first of all, suspicions confirmed. The Carney hit, the Colombian thing. But before we hit that, again, the shorthand these two have. Like, I kind of touched on this last episode, but I'm getting a weird mommy-son vibe here. Like, the way he delivered that line, yeah, I think it's contained. And you could tell she even plays kind of dumb. I was saying before the playing dumb thing. Even with her closest ally. With Torres, she still does. And I think it's this ultimate deniability even to him. And she even kind of smiles like this insidious bitch. She's like, oh, I know it is, David. Just a day in the life of Torres and Hobbs. Like, holy shit. Now, this ultimate deniability, even to him, I think is which is what we kind of see in a second with the pills maybe, is that that's the character right here. Like whatever else we learn about her, and I love the writing and the storytelling of the mystery of so much of what's going on right now, but like whatever else we learn about her, I think it's that she is in complete denial about the moral implications of it, because getting her job done seems to be the only thing that matters. Singular drive, prime directive, get the job done, clean up the prison, and move on to the next place. Have someone who is capable and has the stomach for working with the gangs in the way in which Mike does. So you got Torres at your side, and then you are the kind of, let's face it, white, proper face. I think the fact that she's female also is a great front for whatever dirty business these people do of cleaning up prisons. And I think that's kind of maybe the sick like CIA angle of it, is that it's almost like the Danny Trejo character in SOA, Sons of Anarchy, which we talked before. Again, the amount of connections that show has, and even this episode opening with that kind of montage of like the Danny Trejo character, who is, you know, CIA, we find out, but he's ex-Mexican military, then cartel, now CIA. So maybe she's just one of these like sick operatives who has this like morally almost non-existent mission to clean up prisons in a sense. Anyway, she gets in her car and busts out a military-looking gun case. I mean, this is not your everyday gun case. This ain't your soccer mom gun case. It has like lights in it, and it's a handgun with an extended clip. So she puts that on the seat after downing like 30 pills. So, and I think the pills are, that's like the whole, she can't face who she actually is. She has to kind of smile even through words that are expressing her, you know, again, sanctioning murder, essentially. Like, she's smiling through the sanctioning of a murder. That's who this character is. So the second she gets in her car, the second she's in her own space, she downs those pills. Because that's the thing with writing, too, is that it's always a great way to get to know your character. What do these people do in their private life? It's like a writing strategy, you know. Even if you never show it, what do they do when they get home? What's their routine? Where do they live? Do they live alone? Are they single? You know, now we've, for the first time, seen her in her own, like, literal physical space. And the second she gets into it, she downs a bunch of pills and takes out an extended clip of a handgun. So, and maybe the military thing, I mean, I just thought of that too. The gun, that's probably a connection to some, possibly in a sick way, legal arm of the government. Back in AdSeg, Kyle's having trouble sleeping, which I can't believe why he would have trouble sleeping in AdSeg of Anchor Bay Prison in Kingstown. Finds a piece of folded paper with a bunch of pills under his pillow, which I don't know if that's something that we saw before and he had never taken these out, but it seems like he had just found these for the first time, the look on his face. And it is like a lot of pills, by the way, for prison, like for a folded little piece of paper. I don't know if they're going to try to overdose him, or if probably what it is the, by they, I mean Callahan and AB. I think it's Callahan getting him hooked, and then we get to use our count. Again, comment below. What episode does drug-addicted prison Kyle turn AB? Carney's memorial at the bar. Very cop thing, very CO thing. That's where your memorial is at the bar. Keno apparently gets laid. The girls like Keno. CO Cindy arrives and sits down at the bar next to Mike. And these two actors are so good. Again, Lauren Benanti, and then, of course, our boy Jeremy Renner. Like, the two toast to Carney and total electricity. We kind of saw it before when he apologized. We can see he definitely cares to an extent. But sadly, in this town, only leads to, oh, that's right, our next scene, hey, see what I did there, of fire and destruction. I didn't do it. This is how the show cut it. A moment of, hey, yay, Mike has a life. Mike is connecting with a lady, and there's maybe some love in the air. There's also the cold streets of Kingstown and death by, what is it? Flamethrower. Frank's guy, Frank's guys, park outside one of these Colombian row houses that we saw before with the surveillance. Again, great setup. We saw Ian surveilling the Colombian kid to one of these row houses. Now we're back at these row houses this episode. And good timing, too, because our Colombian friends happen to be chopping up bodies. They are rinsing blood-covered wood saws in the bathtub. Ugh. And this is where our sociopath Sicario kid helps out with some bleach. So he steps in. He's like, oh, I'll help you guys. I have bleach. Dude literally pulls out a flamethrower. Again, this is one of Frank's guys. When they get out of and it's only 2 guys, and you're like, man, why is there only 2? Oh, okay. Because one of the guys puts on the tank of a flamethrower on his back. And you're just like, okay, we're now in Alien, the second, or in an Alien franchise movie. Anyway, other dude just has a silenced pistol. Kids open the door, shoot like 4 dudes, right? Just do, like freaking GoldenEye style. And then our boy with the flamethrower, I shouldn't say our boy, but this dude starts going to work. It was a smart operation. You could tell that all planned out like meticulously. Take out the guys, you know, in the beginning with the guns, and then you start lighting everybody up. And again, great action intercutting this season. This is another one we saw in that first episode, the Colombian shootout in the street, that insane shootout in the street after a car chase, intercut with Kyle getting lock-socked to the face in prison. Now we're getting, this time, the Sicario kid upstairs hearing all this go down and stays cool as a fucking cucumber. Like, literally while his boys are getting roasted below, he has this, like, half smile on his face. This kid is the Anton Chigurh, as we said, of Mayor of Kingstown. Again, I am surprised it's just 2 guys, but I guess that flamethrower, they're like, that's enough muscle for you. I would just think, as we're going to see later, it is clunky having that thing on your back, but whatever. Sicario kid guides a bunch of guys out the back entrance of the house. So we see like the sheet over the wall, he moves it, and it's like a war-torn, like you see in war movies, how an entire wall is just blown out. Like, where are these people? As they said before, it's like, it's a fucking Juarez out here. They have turned this place into Juarez, Mexico. So a bunch of the guys get out and are fine, which you're like, oh no. I mean, not to say he didn't weenie roast a bunch of these dudes are Nashville hot at this point, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but holy crap. Sicario kid follows them outside. Frank's guys shoots them both along with the flamethrower tank. And I thought there would have been a bigger explosion, but I guess, you know, this is as real as it gets, the show, when it comes to action. So there was an explosion, but it just wasn't... I'm glad he didn't like jetpack away or do any goofy shit like that. And yeah, he's not going to be okay. I don't think those guys survived. Has no expression on his face again. You're just like, okay. And then a great final shot through the fire. The fire kind of like moves into frame, and then we get those heat waves and credits. And you're just like, okay. Now, final thoughts and recommends. This reveal of Hobbs is massive. Clearly, like, I mean, we had our suspicions before. We still don't know what the Switzerland thing is, but we know that she knows that they know. I mean, this lady is into some dirt, and man, I guess we're going to see what that extended clip means for us in future episodes. And as much as I did like her, once again, only being in a few minutes, I will say I do hope we just get more of her. I mean, if that's a complaint, I guess you like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Meanwhile, you have the Robert storyline. You have Ian. You have the suspicions that we have for the Bunny-Moses relationship. So much going on. Still doesn't feel overstuffed, right? But what I'm saying is that, like, you walk away with all this other shit going on, and you almost forgot of the literal incendiary ending, because that's the show. Performance continues to be incredible. I also need to compliment, once again, this director, Leslie Hope. Like, that dialogue specifically between Renner and Edie is unforgettable. And direction overall, I know I was complimenting it before, but in our final thoughts, can't recommend this the director enough. Continues once again, as I just did with the director, continues to be a high recommend this show. Also worth noting, I'll say, like, since this is now the third show we've covered on the podcast, even episode 3 is completely holding up to the first 2 episodes. Whereas, like, again, not only the best show so far, I'm just saying episodically, I'm even impressed with that. You can, you know, usually by episode 3, you're like, all right, where is this going? And man, this show. Holy shit, man. So comment below what your predictions are. I mean, again, we got a lot going on. Robert and Evelyn. Ian, we didn't get any follow-ups with what Ian's potentially going to do to Evelyn. With what Edie's involvement. I keep saying Edie, but Hobbs. I mean, God, who is this woman? Tell me what you think, because, man, I have so many things are swimming around in my brain, and I can't even keep track of the fact that it ended with a flamethrower. And that is the show. If you haven't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of Too Many Shows, subscribe and follow the pod. Again, that's Too Many Shows, a TV podcast. Any kind of super donation here on the stream or on any of our videos is much appreciated. Again, every Monday, Kingstown reviews continue, starting between 2 and 2:30 p.m. EST. And finally, our exclusive pod for Tulsa King, the Sam Jackson spinoff series of Tulsa King, patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. Click the link in the show notes. And again, our Alien Earth post-mortem pod is on there too. If you guys liked Predator Badlands as much as everyone else seems to, if you're an actual Predator fan, check out our Alien Earth post-mortem. And again, I do have that Task series reaction exclusive coming as well. Early access to podcasts, detailed episode notes for each pod. That's all just at the $1 level. Again, patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. So this has been Benjamin reminding you to watch your shows.